I'm making this video because I just had a comment on one of my posts on Facebook where it was a picture of me that I snapped by accident right before I was about to make my last video. And when I found the picture in my camera, I was like shocked. I couldn't believe that was me because the skin was so clear. And I realized that in my mind, my skin still looks horrible. It's still humiliating. It's exposed. It's something to be very ashamed of. And then here I have staring back at me a picture of myself with clear skin, and it's like I almost couldn't believe it. And the comment on my post was, "It looks as if you had never picked your skin." And it was like my reaction to that comment was this sadness. I mean, I had a little moment of like, yay, because I had constantly imagined this moment where my skin would be clear, thinking like everything would be better. And so I did respond to her comment and explain this bittersweet reaction I was having because I ended up reflecting back on my process with skin picking and seeing kind of like, first of all, it's not only about the appearance of the skin. Like you think that once the skin gets better that everything's going to be okay. But there's a lot of personal self that's involved that also gets damaged, and it's not just skin deep. And that's what I'm constantly saying about this disorder, is that it's not just skin deep. So in my process and experience and the way I work with it is on deeper levels as well, because here I am with clear skin and I don't feel perfect. I don't feel great all the time. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but I just wanted to explain this bittersweet feeling I was having because I was explaining to her, I do have holes in my face. I have scars. I have on my chin. Every time I get my period, it breaks out because I had picked so much at my chin that the skin is now damaged there and it clogs every month pretty much. And I get acne breakout, even though, I'm way past being a teenager. I'm almost 40, and I'm still getting breakouts on my chin, and I know that that's a consequence of what I have done to it. So, and I told her, this stuff isn't gonna get, as I age, it's like the pock marks are probably gonna get bigger and the scars, and I also told her about my tendon damage in my forearms, where I probably, if I had continued, would have gotten carpal tunnel syndrome or some kind of permanent damage in my tendons in my arms. It's possible I do have a little bit of damage that may be permanent. I get numbness and tingling, and for a while I would get these pains as if a nerve was pinched, and I knew that was from the repeated use of tweezers, that little micro movement for hours on end, for days on end, that can cause tendon damage in your arms. Anyways, as I was reflecting back on my entire process with skin picking, I was seeing that yes, it is a celebration when you're coming to the end of it, when you're seeing the light, and when you're actually stopping and managing the physical act of skin picking. It's amazing. It's like wonderful and terrific. But once you get there and you look back and you're like, shit, it didn't have to be this way. Like, I put myself through so much, and there was so much missing out on life, so many moments that I missed, so many times I hid and suppressed myself as who I am, and didn't show up in my own life and didn't present myself to the world as I am. I often was wearing a mask, masking how I was actually feeling, not sharing how I was feeling with the people in my world, and actually sharing a false image of myself so that the person that they got to know wasn't actually really, truly 100% me. And it made me very sad. And it's like, it happened. I had this disorder, and now there are these consequences that you don't really see while you're in it, because you're so much in it that it's like you're not seeing this bigger picture, or you're seeing it and suppressing it, or you're seeing it, reacting to it, and picking your skin to deal with it. Which brings me to my next point of not feeling great, even though I've I don't pick my skin and cause damage on my skin. It's like what I realized was how much I used skin picking to cope, to suppress, to disassociate, to numb myself. So what happens when you take that coping mechanism away is that you actually start to feel the things you have been avoiding feeling. And it's like I decided to not take medications. I have tried them, but I just, it's a personal decision. And for me, it was, I'm not going to do that. And so when I feel the things I have been avoiding feeling, it is a very intense experience. Sometimes I'm laid out on the bed and all I can do is breathe. Sometimes I cry all day. I mean, I was never a crier. I was never an emotional person. On the surface, I was always very stable, very happy, very positive. And my moments where I was really down and depressed, I would hide myself and not present that to anybody. That was like my little secret. But I generally maintained a constant stability, which I didn't realize I was only capable of doing because I wasn't feeling and facing the actual things that were coming up inside of me. And I that's what I'm dealing with now, still, because it's like you spend your life not dealing with this stuff and then it turns out you don't have the skills to deal with it. So I'm now developing the skills to deal with these intense emotions and now make even more changes in my life with how I approach and handle things. The other night, actually, I had a very overwhelming experience, lots of tears, where it's like what I saw was how it worked. Is that you'd be lying in bed, let's say, for example, right before you're going to go to sleep, and then your mind just starts thinking, like all these thoughts, an avalanche of thoughts. And it's like an example of this type of thought would be, why did that person say that? That really hurt me. You shouldn't have said that. And then it's like, you get a little jab in the gut and it's like hurt. And then you'll think, well, maybe I could have handled it better and I actually really regret saying the thing that I said in a reaction. And then you've got regret coming in. And then it's like, well, I could do better next time, but now I've messed up. And then you've got self-hate and self-loathing coming in because every time you have one of these thoughts, you're like injecting these emotional experiences into your body and they're just sitting there and accumulating. And normally I would go to the bathroom and start picking my skin as soon as it got a little bit uncomfortable, and then it would all go away. But now that I don't do that, it just keeps building and building until I have a breakdown emotionally. And I mean, when I do this, because I've been practicing working with myself for so long, this breakdown is a decision that I make now. I have had breakdowns in the past due to stressful jobs where it happened at the workplace and it was completely out of my control and I had to leave work that day and go to the doctor type thing. That is not a controlled breakdown. That is an out of control. I have no handle on managing myself. That's just like breakdown, typical breakdown. But what I experience now is a controlled breakdown where I actually allow the stuff to come up and I'm aware of what's going on and the fact that it's just my mind thinking about things that are in the past that, you know, really if you wanted to deal with it properly, you would take up the scenario, forgive any of the reactions and just script a new way forward for next time. But the reactions, the mind is very sneaky and it sneaks them in there. And then they build. It's like they take on lives of their own and they want to be fed with more and more thoughts and the emotional reaction grows and grows inside of you. And so the other night I was letting this happen. I was breathing and stabilizing myself and it got so bad. Now I'm like sitting inside my own body like an observer of what's going on. You can either be an observer or you can make the mistake of being a participant where it's like you believe these thoughts are absolutely true and real and you know, it becomes like feeling like life or death. But if you sit in as an observer and you simply observe your thoughts and you see what you're doing with your mind, in your body, then that's a different story. So I was sitting as an observer and watching all these thoughts, and just feeling how they were triggering all these reactions within me. And it was building and building until I just didn't even want to be alive anymore. That's how bad it got. I mean, this was like hours that I was spending in bed before I went to sleep, just breathing and kind of letting this play out, because I know that the only reason this is playing out is because I've been suppressing this stuff for so long. And you can reflect on your day, and you can turn anything into a reaction and an emotional experience in your body, and have it accumulate. It doesn't really necessarily need to be something specific. In fact, you can take a moment that actually nothing was really going on, and you can turn it into a big dramatic thing inside yourself. And I can like smile and laugh about this now, but I'm telling you, the other night it was not pleasant. It was I felt really trapped, like a caged animal, and I didn't know what to do except for just keep myself stable and breathe. And I couldn't solve the problems in my thoughts. I would often have racing thoughts about trying to solve problems in my head without actually facing the problem in reality. So all I could really do is breathe through it. And the next day I had a big confrontation with lots of tears. And in the end, it's like I had to actually face a person and confront them and reveal my mind and what I had been thinking and my reactions. And, thankfully I was dealing with a person that is very understanding and forgiving, and we were able to talk it out and work it through. But this is just an example of, what kind of suppressions can come up, and the kind of stuff that once you stop picking your skin, you may have to deal with. Maybe it's not the same for everyone. But for me, this has been the reality of it, is like from the tail end when I started stopping until I had it under control, managed and directed. It's been the suppressions that have been a real surprise to me, because I was expecting to feel great and happy and like my life is wonderful. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with the most intense emotions that I've ever had to deal with before, and it's difficult. But I do have tools, and I do have myself, as I have developed myself to be able to handle these things. And this is what I want to guide and teach and basically support others with, to be able to develop yourself so that you can handle these storms when they come. First, while you're still picking your skin and you still have the disorder, right through to when you stop and now you're dealing with this stuff. And it's like I am my methods are something that you can work with while you're doing other therapies as well. It's like the more support you can get, the better. Just anything you can do for yourself. That's something else I can support with, is explaining the different methods I used when I faced problems in my life. So this is just a reflection, looking back over 20 plus years of skin picking and how it feels to be at the tail end of it. It's wonderful and magnificent, and at the same time it's horrible and dreadful, and you have to deal with regrets. And but in the end, it's like we have lived the lives we've lived. We can't go back and change what we've done. It's in the past. So you have to forgive yourself and move on and accept the things that you cannot change, and change the things you can not accept. So thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful, or at least a little bit interesting. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.